are back.
Okay. Well, we've got some really talented people here. Don White, could you do something for us?
Um, Hello, it's nice to see everybody. I see Megan McDonough is here. I was just talking about her recently because I was working with the Woodstock festival. They had me do something, so I was saying my big memory of that was to hang around with you there at the thing. So it's nice to see you. So yeah, here, this is my book. It's called Memoirs of a Sea Student. That's the name of my book. It took 5 years to write this book. I want to tell this story about this wedding that I went to. I went to a wedding here in the 80s, and when I was driving to the wedding, I asked my wife about the groom. I didn't know the groom, and she said the only thing I know about him is that he was barred for life from Frank's Corner Bar, and I couldn't believe that because I knew a little something about that bar, and it was the wildest bar that there was in the city. I don't know how to describe it to you, but just picture everything that you're not supposed to do in a in an establishment, and that was welcome there. It was lawless, and so I was mystified by this person. I couldn't wait to meet him. I couldn't wait to see who he was. Like, what would you have to do to get barred from this place? It was beyond me. So here's just a little piece about that. At the time of her sister's wedding, Deborah was 21. 2 decades of multiple sclerosis had twisted her into this tiny, contorted young woman. She sat in her wheelchair at a table with her family near the dance floor. The muscles in her neck had long ago surrendered the fight to keep her head held up. Her head rested upon her shoulder, giving her, I thought, a skewed view of the proceedings. As the party was winding down, the DJ played a slow song. It was a waltz. I watched the groom walk over to Deborah. This is the guy, right? He walked over to Deborah. He bent down, tucked his 2 hands under her arms, and lifted her out of her wheelchair. Her legs stayed curled up beneath her as he carried her onto the dance floor. Her chin rested upon his shoulder. The floor cleared. Everyone stopped and watched. When the groom's back was to our table, we could see Deborah's face set upright atop his shoulder and looking wide-eyed around the room. Her body was hidden from our view. It would have been easy to picture her face attached to a young, healthy girl moving perfectly in step with him, except that her face could not conceal her lifetime in a wheelchair. Both of Deborah's sisters are absolutely gorgeous. They are petite and stunning. It seemed reasonable to assume that they each have had more than their fair share of attraction from young men. I pictured the perfectly coherent and articulate a girl behind Deborah's eyes, peering out at a world that routinely bestowed upon her sisters all the experiences that mark the stages of a girl's journey to adulthood. She was sitting in her wheelchair when her sisters went out to their first dates, went to their prom, and returned. And here she was again at her sister Dawn's wedding. The face that looked at us from the shoulder of her dance partner was that of a woman who had spent her life silently watching as the dreams of other people came true. This was a face that never expected to be beautiful. Now, through the spontaneous action of her newly anointed brother-in-law, for 5 minutes at her sister's wedding, and for the only time in her life, she was the belle of the ball. She ruled the dance floor with the handsomest man in the building. She was, in the eyes of everyone in attendance, and presumably in her own mind, quite simply the most beautiful woman in the world. She looked to me as if she would burst. When the music stopped, the man who was barred for life from Frank's Corner Bar placed her gently back into her wheelchair, kissed her on the forehead, and disappeared into the crowd.
Oh,
Ta-da.
woo.
That place was full of priests and religious people and people who spend their life doing the right thing, and he was the one who saw the moment and did it. So it always stayed in my mind, actually.
Wow. Did they ever lift that bar of him? At,
Did they ever?
at,
Say
did they
that
ever let
again?
him back in at Frank's?
No, no, no. No, they never
Really?
did. Whatever he did in there was, who knows? But he was the star of this moment, and it's interesting to know that sometimes the person that you think, whatever you think about them, they're capable of doing the magical thing that impacts somebody forever that nobody else would have thought to do. So there you go.
Well, that's a great one. So, Don, are you working on a second book?
I am. It's a slow process, but yeah, I am working on it. It's, I'm so busy these days, Christine. I never been so busy and never left my house before. I don't really understand it, but that's the way it is. But yeah, I'm working on it. I'm trying to think of a name for it. I was thinking, what do you think about this as a title? Stories I couldn't tell till my parents were dead. How's that?
Oh, that's a good title.
It's a little much, but it makes me laugh when I think of it.
No, but I think people would want to buy that book. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You know I love you, and I'm glad that to see you, and I'm anxious to hear your new record as well.
Well, I'll send you one as soon as I get the postage. But so Megan McDonough, Megan is here, and Megan lives in the Midwest, and because this is under the umbrella of the Amazing Things Art Center, I thought, Megan has a song that's got that phrase in it.
I like to say, and I'm sure you and Don and Peg, and I'm sure every songwriter here has had the experience of just pushing the pen. I love when that happens. It doesn't happen often, but you just sort of take dictation. So this is for all of you as we move through this really interesting time. It's the big shift. So let us stay the course and know that amazing things can happen. You will do amazing things with the choice each new day brings, and with every breath you take, bless the progress that you make. The reason you live is found in every gift you give. Love your life, love your dreams. You will do amazing things. Amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing. You will do amazing things. Oh, the places you will go and the people you will know. Don't worry when or where or how. You don't have to know right now. You're on the right track. No need to look ahead or back. Just enjoy what this day brings. You will do amazing things. Amazing. You will do amazing things. You don't have to work it out. Just stay in the here and now. Let your mind rest for a little while. Sometimes deepest answers come when you're out there having fun. Remember that. So close your eyes and take a breath and smile. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing. We're here to do amazing things.
Well, our next guest is a writer that I met at Yaddo. And Yaddo is an artist colony in Saratoga Springs. It's almost 100 years old. It was started by the Trask family a long, long time ago. And you get to go for between 3 weeks and 8 weeks. There's all kinds of artists in all different disciplines, painters and musicians and composers and poets and journalists, essayists. And the very first night that I was there was a reading that night. There were two different writers, and she was one of them. And I just was knocked out by her work. And yesterday morning, I actually woke up from a dream saying, I wonder if Elizabeth Mosier can come to our after party and read something for us. And so I immediately emailed her, and she said yes. So please give a warm welcome to Elizabeth Mosier.
Thank you, Christine. And I've known you long enough to know you create and keep the best company. And I feel so lucky to be with you all tonight. So thank you so much for the music and the words. John, I sympathize. If I could do anything other than writing, I would. But this is what I do. And I thought I would read a short essay tonight in the spirit of artistic creation. In order to write my latest book, which is called Excavating Memory, Archaeology and Home, I logged 1,000 hours of volunteer work processing colonial era artifacts at Philadelphia's Independence National Historic Park, and spending time with real archaeologists during a difficult time when my mother was descending into Alzheimer's, and I was responsible for clearing out 4 family homes, gave me a new lens to understand the meaning-making work that artists do. What I love about archaeologists is that they know that stuff isn't just stuff. They remind us that the choices we make to save or purge our personal artifacts, including that awesome screen that Christine's gonna send us all tonight if we buy her album. I know that these create a record of our attachment to a place and to people and to the past. Archaeologists also understand that these painful decisions about what to keep and what to donate and what to discard, which things we can use and which things we should keep for meaning's sake, are necessarily entangled with emotions of loss. And I think this is what Christine was responding to in my reading at Yaddo. This is a different piece, and it's called Believers. The sauce boat showed up in a bag of filthy artifacts dug up at the National Constitution Center site. To my untrained eye, it was just another dirty dish for a volunteer technician like me to wash, label, and catalog. But judging from the buzz in the archaeology lab the day the ceramics collector visited, this piece was important, even precious. The archaeologists believed they'd unearthed a colonial era treasure, an intact example of Bonin and Morris soft paste porcelain made by the American China Manufactory in the Southwark section of Philadelphia. Corroded and discolored, the sauceboat didn't resemble the company's 19 known surviving pieces: sauceboats, tiny baskets, pickle dishes, and stands, exhibited at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Tests to determine its chemical structure were inconclusive, and the underglazed blue painted decoration was gone, but the sauceboat was the right shape and bore the right factory mark. If authentic, it was historically significant, a souvenir from the campaign to sell locally produced ceramics to colonists, which lasted until Hosea Wedgwood flooded the market with cheap imported English porcelain in the testy years leading up to the Revolutionary War. But history was only half of it. Something else seemed to be at stake. As I inked field specimen numbers onto a seemingly endless pile of pottery sherds, the collector toured the lab. He boasted about valuable acquisitions and revealed his inexperience with mending artifacts to a team of archaeologists who routinely put together shattered vessels like a novelist fits words. His tone and swagger reminded me of an English professor who'd once told me casually, not expecting an argument, that creative work is validated by criticism. as if making meaning wasn't the purpose of writing fiction, as if the point of archaeology was to display objects in a glass case and not to learn about the people who use them. With an exasperated sigh, the collector dismissed treasure seekers who hoped against his expert appraisals that what they'd found in Grandma's attic was worth something. Believers, he said. Bingo, I thought. With the word, he'd unmasked himself. Though the archaeologists might never know if the sauce boat was a true Bonin and Morris, uncertainty wouldn't change their work. And yet the collector had discounted these cultural stewards who sift through our soil and process every last seed and bone and bead, who must temper the critic's urge to curate with the creator's habit of curiosity. Believers indeed. Artists and archaeologists will spend our lives searching because the process of searching is valuable. Like any object, the sauce boat means something different to every person who encounters it. For the collector, the thing itself is valuable, both for its scarcity and its arcanum, the trade's secret recipe for turning coarse elements such as glass and bone and soapstone into fine porcelain. For the archaeologists, the object's importance is partly its provenience, which provides an important context clue. British-born Goose Bonin and Philadelphian George Anthony Morris were in business for only 2 years. The manufacturer's narrow production window, 1770 to 1772, helps date other artifacts found in the same strata on a timeline moving backwards from the contemporary surface to the deep past. For me, the object conjures Thanksgiving, not my elegant adult remake of the holiday, but the dismal childhood version, my family awkward in dress-up clothing, arguing and blasting aerosol cheese onto Ritz crackers while a turkey roasts interminably, filling the house with the sad smell of sage. My family of origin is my personal arcanum, an alchemy of resentment and grief that rendered me smooth and brittle. Memories are my material. Writing is the way I keep myself from shattering. My point is that we value objects or not according to the personal meaning that we bestow. Perhaps it's sacrilegious to say it, but in the months since the sauce boat's discovery, I've often wondered if the pristine Bonin and Morris pickle stand on exhibit at the Art Museum escaped the privy pit not because it was treasured, but because it is absurd. In life as in memory, what we don't use is preserved intact. But the archaeological record is often created in crisis, with emotion guiding what we take with us and what we leave behind. I speak from some experience. In 6 years, I've had to empty 4 houses full of objects collected by declining parents and departed parents-in-law. And though Thanksgiving dinner china was abundantly represented, it never once made any siblings' must-have list. I gave away fancy serving pieces to the Goodwill in my hometown. I donated dishes, flatware, and pots and pans to the Nationalities Service Center to help furnish the homes of refugees recently arrived in Philadelphia from all over the world. For myself, I claimed items with personal value, my mother's measuring spoons, the wooden doll cradle my father made for me, my mother-in-law's trove of craft supplies. These small, forgotten things are like the fingerprints potters leave in the clay, evidence of the maker in what lost family members finished or hope to finish one day. When my beloved mother-in-law died, the apartment seemed even quieter with the noise of unstrung beads clicking together in drawers and fat spools of colorful quilting thread rolling from side to side in wooden trays. There were boxes and boxes of fabric still scented with her drugstore perfume and permeated with the sadness of things left undone. Overwhelmed, I emailed my friend Marta Moretic in London, who quilts as brilliantly as she writes. I knew that Marta, whose own fabric stash she describes as the size of a large, well-fed sow, packed in a plaid plastic bag with handles, the kind you see on the news in Asian refugee situations, would know what to do. What would I keep? She responded in a message I read in the wee hours with relief and gratitude. This is the practical me talking. All pure cottons, all solids, even dull, muddy ones, because they make a useful contrast with brights. Anything geometric, anything really vintage, anything seasonal, because even when you don't think you'll ever use a poinsettia print, you find yourself needing one. Orange fabrics are oddly useful in many situations, not least at Halloween. Scraps from things she made for you, because you will use them in your own projects and think of her. Fabrics that remind you of her for whatever reason. Green fabrics, because you love green. There should be plenty in the stash, because undoubtedly she knew you loved green too. It was exactly what I needed to hear to get through the heartbreak of breaking ground. As I worked my way through the fabric, I mourned my mother-in-law, but I felt hope too. The heirloom quilt I plan to piece together from her remnants will be a rare accomplishment given my meager sewing skills. It won't be anything a collector would want, but it will comfort my daughters in incalculable ways long after I am gone. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Libby. That was beautiful. Is that part of a book that you're working on or a bigger project?
That essay is in a collection called Excavating Memory, Archaeology and Home, which drew upon my work at the archaeology lab. I didn't go in intending to write about it, but it sort of gave me a new lens to look at everything. So I started looking at ordinary household items as artifacts and really thinking about the histories that they contain. And so and it happened to be at a point when I was doing a lot of house cleaning. So I began to think about the connections between memory and archaeology and what we keep and why, and how we make meaning as artists. But that incident was actually something that I worked at the lab for 7 years. And it was towards the end, I think it was maybe 6 years in, that collector, he was from an Antique Roadshow, actually. He was so arrogant. And, I think by that point I'd worked at the lab long enough that I felt like I was one of them, even though I'm not an archaeologist. I felt this great kinship with the archaeologists and, artists, and Dawn, you can relate to this too, and musicians who fuss over rewriting lyrics and getting the music just right. I was so relieved to find there was another profession that was as tedious as writing, that they're picking through little tiny piles of dirt to find a straight pin. It just was really comforting. So by the time the collector came into the lab, I had an attitude that I was one of them. And that piece that I just read came out of that sense of affinity with them.
You know what? I have a funny connection with tonight's show because, I haven't done wind chimes in forever, but there's a guy named Ken Sanders. He actually autographed these wind chimes, and he's been on the Antiques Roadshow for like 10 years as a book appraiser, and he took a shine to my work, which was an amazing thing because it was an outdoor concert in Salt Lake City, and he insisted on selling my CDs after the show, and I sold so many CDs because everybody wanted to meet Ken Sanders, and I talked him into coming on stage and playing wind chimes, and he ended up, it was June 2019.
Oh, he dated it. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Ken Sanders is also the Antiques Road, but not arrogant, so I knew it wasn't about him. Wow. Well, thank you so much for
asking.
For sharing your gifts with us. That's wonderful. And now we're going.
Hey,
Yes,
Chris. I don't know if you saw that Janet came in.
Oh
Janet Feld
yeah,
came in, so I wanted to let
yeah.
you know.
I saw it. I went on the gallery view, and I saw that Janet's here. So I'm thrilled. She has been working at with Passim for many years as a songwriting teacher, but she's also a performer herself. And I just saw her last Sunday with Don White and other people who were part of the Old Vienna Coffee House reunion. And I invited her to come and do a couple songs for us. So, hi, Janet.
Hi, Christine. Wow, thank you so much for inviting me. Wow, just hearing everyone's work is like blowing me away. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this.
Well, I'm so thrilled you could make it. So, what are you going to do for us?
Well, this is a song that I wrote in the middle of the night, and I couldn't sleep, and I had my laptop on my chest, and I'm like on Facebook like this, and a friend of mine put a photograph of his car dashboard up on his Facebook wall, and it was a picture of this little plastic Buddha, and the little plastic Buddha was drinking a cup of coffee and talking on the telephone. And so I type in the chat, who's the Buddha talking to? And as soon as I typed that in, this song kind of came in whole. So by the next day when I got up out of bed, I just had to figure out what key it was in. Who's the Buddha talking to? He's talking on the phone. Who's the Buddha talking to? He's talking on the phone. Jesus, Moses, Joan of Arc, and Muhammad too must be sharing deepest thoughts with him this afternoon. Could be Lao Tzu talking all about the Tao Te Ching, or Lilith on the stars and the phases of the moon. Who's the Buddha talking to? He's talking on the phone. Who's the Buddha talking to? He's talking on the phone. Throughout time when the prophets were called to lead, they took a leap of faith with no guarantees. Every time, every one of them questioned the divine and chose to show us how to walk in love and peace. So who's the Buddha talking to? He's talking on the phone. Who's the Buddha talking to? He's talking on the phone. So everyone is worthy to heal someone in need. Every day it can be you who gets to plant the seed. An act of kindness seems so small, but is bigger than the sea. When someone pays it forward and it ripples endlessly, ripples endlessly, ripples endlessly. Oh, who's the Buddha talking to? He could be talking to you. Who's the Buddha talking to? He could be talking to you. Who's the Buddha talking to? He could be talking to you. Who's the Buddha talking to? He could be talking to you. Could be talking to you. Could be talking to you. Could be talking to you.
I'm so happy that Megan McDonough is here to hear that song. Somehow I just knew that that would resonate with her.
That's so great.
So, can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Passim?
Yeah, I'm celebrating my 20th year teaching there at the Passing School of Music, and I mostly teach guitar there, and I also teach songwriting. And so I get to, one of my missions in life is really to help people experience the fact that they don't have to be from the special talented planet in order to be able to play a musical instrument. All they have to know is that they want to do it. And if you want to, and you're willing to put in a moderate amount of time, it doesn't take a huge amount of time, then you can learn to play, and so I'm part of a really, because I've been there for a long time, I've taught with all sorts of people through the years, and it's always a great crew. And I always say, one of the reasons I stay so healthy and strong is because I get to hang with all the cool people, and because all the cool people come and take classes with me. So I'm really lucky that way. It's a real blast.
My parents met on the New York City subway back before World War II. Dad said, "Aren't you one of Judge Crawford's daughters?" Mom said, "How do you do?" That's how the conversation started. Above the clickety-clack, on a train from the Bronx to Manhattan, when two 20-somethings began to chat. Until that day, what can I say? They were two young commuters, long before there were computers. Until that day, what can I say? Stars align when love is kindly on display. First thing they did after they married was to move north, 50 miles up, to live a life bucolic, drinking from the Lavin cup. Babies came first, one after another, after another, after another, after another. I am the fourth of 9. They did the best that they knew how to keep us kids in line. It was never easy with a family that size. Thank God for our black Labrador Spanky and his gentle, trusting eyes. Sometimes Spanky was the only one in the house to be loved by everyone unconditionally. My oldest sister went to nursing school. My oldest brothers were college bound. Soon I was 2, but for much of that time I was lost, until I found that music gave me purpose. So I saved every dime till I could quit my day job, though it took a long, long time. And the younger kids all found their way in science, sports, and history. One became a therapist, one became a journalist. He's a bit of a mystery. Some got married, some divorced, some have kids who are now grown. I keep up with their exploits, 'cause they text me on my phone. Yes, I'm riding the New York City subway, staring at the screen. I look up, there's a young boy pestering his mom. She looks all of 19. A lovely girl sporting earbuds next to a young man sporting earbuds too. But they're both staring at screens, and for all we know, she's in Brooklyn, he's in Kathmandu. I want to introduce them to each other and say, kids, open your eyes. Standing right beside you might be a sweet surprise. But I say nothing as the subway rumbles into the dark. But every now and then I remember as I disembark that years ago conversations started above the clickety-clack on a train from the Bronx to Manhattan. The two 20-somethings began to chat, and on the day they started talking, everything was new. You gotta look up from your cell phone so this can happen to you. Until that day, what can I say? They were two young commuters long before there were computers. Until that day, what can I say? Stars align when love is kindly on display. as the train rumbles off into the night. There's a train going across the Manhattan Bridge right now. Hey, Mom! Hey, Dad! Oh, Peg Espinola. So, Peg, do you have a song for us?
Amazing Things was the first venue to give me a feature,
Oh, nice.
so I have enormous fondness for them, and I actually had several features there where I opened for various people, including the work of the Weavers, which is a very good. And I feel so honored to be part of this group. I feel myself to be, that fraud kind of thing because I started songwriting at 67, and now I'm 83. So,
What did you do before you were a songwriter?
well, I am still a clinical social worker. I did child protection for a while. That was really, really rugged, and I wrote a song about it, which I almost never sing. It's a cappella, and I don't like singing a cappella, but it's about the people that, in fact, pass it on, the legacy of abuse. So this is very much a fact that there are these other people who do not pass it on, and they have become my clients more since I've been in private practice. Anyway, so many songs, things written and sung tonight, just speak to me. Christine, I have a song called I'm a Little Bit Deafer. It's about when I got hearing aids. I won't sing that one. I have a song called Judas Boo, which is about being a Buddhist Jewish Unitarian, but I won't sing that one either. Those were. Instead, I'm going to sing the song I wrote. It's called The Two Pandemics. This doggone plague has cramped my style. Haven't seen my kids in quite a while. They tell me, Mom, please toe the line. Hey, they've got their lives and I've got mine. I wear a mask, I know the drill. So if I'm sick, won't make you ill. And my Perel, I've got that too. Now I can shop like young folks do. I'll grab some fish and some TP, then pick up kale. It's good for me. I'll take my place in the checkout line, then go straight home, and I'll be fine. My kids would suffer were I to die, so I watch TV, let the world pass by. But then George Floyd, cop stops his breath, and I must protest his wrongful death. I hope I live to see the day when COVID-19 fades away and the other plague with its roots so long. I pray we finally right the wrong. We'll face the past, admit our shame, learn how we white folks are to blame, then work for true equality and build a world where all breathe free. We'll build a world where all breathe free.
Beautiful, Peg. Thank you.
I get back at my kids in my songs sometimes. They're great though. I love them.
I actually just lost signal. I missed the entire song.
Oh, no.
I don't know what happened. I was like, I'm off. And then I saw it.
Oh no!
I just saw the headline, and I have to tell you what the headline is, because I just saw it, that Ruth Bader Ginsburg has just died.
No! Oh no! Oh no!
I know.
Oh my God!
Oh.
Oh.
when great souls go sailing out. What we can all sing after this together, perhaps to sing her to the path. So we've been talking about family, and those of you with children know when you have a child, you can really let your parents off the hook for a lot of stuff. And I remember, Janet, I loved your song. My father's middle name was Denver, James Denver McDonough. And he was Irish and really witty and anyway, he came from a long line of Irishmen, shall we say. Anyway, so my son's name is Denver. I thought it sounded nice with my married name at the time, Dobbs. Denver Dobbs sort of sounded like a baseball player, famous artist. When Denver was about 4, we were driving into the city, into Chicago, and I was late, and the traffic was not good, and there he was in his little car seat, and he sensed that I was, mad about something, and he said, "Mom, are you angry?" And, because I just, never want to pass on any bad vibes, I said, "Yes, honey, but not at you. It's the traffic. It's really bugging me." And he said, "Mom, we're traffic too." I see pictures of my parents with lots of dark hair. Might as well be me sitting there. Their own stormy childhoods was something to fear. You will know the tree by the fruited bear. And I look at my siblings, all older than me, except for dear Erin, the last fruit on the tree. And I know we're connected, but just how and where? You will know the tree by the fruited bears. All blood runs deep, and it sometimes runs cold when the heart seems to keep all the things it's been told, and spends hours and hours mending the tear. The moths of the past quietly left there. Now I look at my own child with love and with fear, never wanting to cause so much as a tear. And I'll tell him, look back, but son, try not to stare. You will know the tree by the fruited bears, by the fruited bears, by the fruited bears.
Beautiful.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Thank you, Meg. Thank you so much.